Welcome to Monk's Temple. Come in. Find a space to settle. Perhaps you're sitting, or lying down. Maybe the day's weight is still on your shoulders, a tightness in the jaw, a busyness behind the eyes. Let that be here too. There is no need to push it away. For the next while, we won't be adding more weight. We won't be building more walls. We will be practicing the gentle, often brave, art of creating space. Of listening to a rhythm older than your worries, deeper than your plans. This is not about becoming someone else. It is about remembering who you are when you are not trying so very hard. Have you ever watched an old tree in a storm? Its branches are not rigid. They do not fight the wind. They yield. They bend, they sway, they dance with a force they cannot control. And in that yielding, they find their resilience. Their roots hold firm not because they grip the soil and panic, but because they have learned, over centuries, how to trust their own deep connection to the earth. The tree does not spend the calm days anxious about the next storm. It simply lives, present in the sun, present in the rain. This is not passivity. This is profound intelligence. And somewhere within you, beneath the layers of thought and effort, you know this intelligence too. Buddhism teaches us that this knowing is our true nature. Not the scrambling, planning, fearing self, but the aware, spacious, trusting presence that can observe the storm without being shattered by it. Today, we will explore timeless landscapes of wisdom. We will walk through 7 gardens, each with its own lesson about how life softens, opens, and carries us when we unclench our hands from the steering wheel of everything. Our journey will not be linear, because peace is not a destination at the end of a checklist. It is a series of openings, of quiet realizations that meet us exactly where we are. So, let us begin not at the beginning of a map, but in the center of your own breathing. Close your eyes for a moment, if you feel comfortable. And I want you to imagine a building. It's a grand, imposing structure, built entirely by your own mind. Let's call it the Museum of Tomorrow. Inside, there are no windows to the present day. The halls are long and echo with footsteps of thought. In each room, under careful, anxious lighting, are exhibits. Here is the worst-case scenario diorama, incredibly detailed. Over there is the, what they might think, interactive display. Down the corridor is the financial ruin in 5 acts gallery, and around the corner, the illness and loss wing, painted in vivid, dreadful colors. You are the curator, the architect, the sole visitor. You spend hours, days, sometimes years, wandering these halls, polishing the exhibits, adding new details, feeling the chill of the marble floors. The irony, the profound and heartbreaking irony, is that this museum is built with artifacts that do not exist. They are made of memory, projection, fear, and imagination. They are shadows given form by your attention. Buddhist wisdom offers a gentle, liberating key to this museum. It reminds us that so much of what we carry, what exhausts us, what robs our sleep and dulls our joy, are exhibits in this museum of a future that has not arrived. Our minds are masterful artists, capable of painting tragedies with such conviction that our bodies react as if the tragedy is real. Our heart races, our stomach knots, our shoulders tense, all for a painting on a wall in a museum of tomorrow. I remember, many years ago, when I was first learning to sit in meditation at a quiet monastery, my teacher asked me what was happening. I said, I am preparing. He smiled softly. For what? For my meeting tomorrow, I said. The important one. I am running through all the things that could go wrong, all the questions I might not answer well, so I am prepared. He was quiet for a long time, listening to the wind in the bamboo outside. Then he said, "You are building a bridge across a river you have not yet reached. The river may not even be there. And look, your hands are tired from carrying all these stones. We carry stones. Invisible stones of, what if? We fill our backpack with them every morning, believing this preparation is necessary, is strength. But the weight bends our posture, slows our step, and makes the actual journey, the one happening in the sunlight and fresh air of now, feel like a grueling trek." Buddhism doesn't ask us to be foolish or unprepared. It asks us to discern between wise preparation and the construction of phantom burdens. The mind's projections are not reality. They are possibilities, often distorted by fear. To believe every thought is to live as a prisoner in a museum of your own making. So, the practice is this: when you find yourself walking those cold halls, pause. Touch something real. The feeling of your breath entering and leaving your body. The solid weight of the chair beneath you. The sound of a bird outside the window of today. Ask, with gentle curiosity, is this happening now? Or am I visiting the museum? You don't have to tear the building down in one day. Simply, for this moment, choose to step outside. Feel the sun, or the rain, of the present moment on your skin. What is real, right now, is almost always far more manageable, far more gentle, than the curated horrors of tomorrow's museum. The burden you feel is often the weight of imagined fears. Put it down. You are allowed. If this gentle reminder is finding a place in you, if it feels like a permission slip you've been waiting for, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. By joining our community, you help these teachings reach others who might be wandering their own endless museums, looking for a way out. Your support allows us to keep the doors of this temple open. Now, let's move to a different garden. Imagine a kite, a beautiful, intricate thing, dancing high in a vast sky. It dips and soars on currents you cannot see. From the ground, it seems free, utterly untethered. But we know a secret, don't we? Its freedom, its ability to ride the wind and not be blown away into oblivion, comes from a string. A thin, seemingly fragile connection to the earth. Now, imagine two people. One person holds the string loosely, with an open palm. They feel the tug and pull, they sense the kite's dance, but their hand is soft. They are in a gentle partnership with the wind. The other person is terrified the kite will fly away. They grip the string with white knuckles. They pull it taut, trying to force the kite into a specific patch of sky, to make it perform a specific dance. What happens? The string strains. The kite fights, jerks, and begins to spiral downward. The very grip meant to secure it ensures its crash. This, Buddhism teaches, is the dynamic between control and surrender. We often mistake the white-knuckle grip for strength. But true strength is the secure, open palm that allows the dance. The kite is your life, your relationships, your work, your dreams, your journey. The wind is the flow of circumstances, of karma, of time, of the 10,000 things you cannot command. The string is your intention, your action, your mindful presence. For decades, I misunderstood this. I believed my worth was in my grip. If a project was successful, it was because I held the string tightly enough. If a relationship thrived, it was because I managed it correctly. I was the exhausted kite fighter, mistaking strain for dedication. Then, during a long retreat, we spent an afternoon simply watching the sky. No goal, no lesson. Just watching. I saw a hawk, riding a thermal, wings barely moving. It was not fighting the air, it was conversing with it. It was allowing the sky to hold it up. The teacher said quietly, "Your life can be like that. You can spend your energy flapping, or you can learn to sense the thermal and open your wings." The grip on my internal string loosened, just a millimeter. And in that tiny space, I felt a relief so profound it brought tears. I had been flapping for so long. Surrender, in the Buddhist sense, is not letting go of the string. It is letting go of the conviction that your frantic tugging is what makes the kite fly. It is shifting from being a controller to being a participant. You still hold the string, you show up, you care, you act with integrity, but you do so with a trust that there is intelligence in the wind. That your job is not to command the sky, but to learn its language and adjust your sail. When you stop fighting the wind, you find it begins to carry you. Solutions rise like thermals. Help arrives like a favorable breeze. The kite of your life stops fighting and starts to soar. Ask yourself now, where in your life are you gripping the string until your hands ache? What would it feel like to open your palm, just a little, and feel the tug of a larger dance? There is an ancient parable, often told in quiet tones in the monasteries of the East, about an unseen weaver. Imagine life as an immense, boundless tapestry. From where you stand, pressed close to the cloth, you see only threads. A tangled knot here, a loose end there, a color that seems too dark, a section that appears messy, chaotic, without pattern. Your immediate impulse, born of love and fear, is to grab a needle and try to fix it. To straighten this thread, to change that color, to impose a pattern you can understand onto the chaos before you. You work tirelessly, but the more you poke and pull, the more the threads fray. The knot tightens. The beautiful cloth beneath your mending grows strained. Now, imagine taking a step back. And another. You walk back until you reach a vantage point you never knew existed. And from here, you begin to see. That dark thread was essential to highlight the gold one next to it. That seeming tangle forms the eye of a majestic creature in the larger picture. The mess was part of a wing, a mountain, a flowing river in a grand design so vast your busy needle could never have comprehended it. The tapestry is perfect. It was only your proximity, your limited perspective, that made it look flawed. Buddhism teaches that there is an unseen weaver. Some call it the Dharma, the natural law of cause and effect. Some call it the unfolding of karma, or simply life's own innate intelligence. When we try to control every thread, we are operating from the belief that we, from our limited view, know better than the weaver. We interfere, convinced the tapestry is going wrong. But our interference, however well-intentioned, often just introduces more knots. I witnessed this in a powerful way with my own sister. She was desperate for her son to follow a specific, secure career path, medicine. She planned, pushed, guided, and worried. Every time he expressed interest in music, she saw a loose, dangerous thread and tried to tie it down. Their relationship became a battlefield of tension, a knot of resentment and misunderstanding. It was only when a health scare forced her to stop, to truly surrender, that she let go of the needle. Exhausted, she said, your life is your tapestry. What happened was miraculous. Freed from the pressure, her son didn't abandon responsibility. He pursued music with discipline, but also, on his own volition, took courses in therapy. He is now a music therapist, blending both worlds in a way her controlling mind could never have designed. The weaver's pattern was wiser. Her interference had almost destroyed the very picture she hoped to create. Your life is this tapestry. Your worries, your frantic rearrangements, are you pressed against the cloth, frightened by the threads. The practice of letting go is the courageous act of stepping back. It is trusting the weaver. It doesn't mean you don't care for the threads, you choose your actions with kindness, you sew with compassion, but you release the demand to see and control the final image. You learn to act where you are, with the thread in front of you, and then let the greater pattern emerge. When you stop interfering with the weave, a profound peace settles in. You begin to sense the pattern. You feel held within a story larger than your fears. The weight of being the sole architect of the universe lifts. You are a conscious thread, participating in a masterpiece. Your only task is to be your brightest, truest color, and trust the weaver's hand. Picture yourself in a small boat on a vast ocean. A storm has risen. The waves are mountains, the wind is screaming, the rain is cold and sharp. In your panic, you do what feels instinctive, you grab the anchor, a heavy, iron thing, and you throw it overboard. Clunk. The rope pulls taut. The boat jerks violently against it, but it holds. For a moment, you feel a desperate sense of security. I have stopped the drift, you think. But the storm does not care about your anchor. The waves continue to crash. The wind still howls. Now, your boat is not only being battered by the storm, it is also being wrenched and strained against this fixed point. It threatens to break apart. The anchor, your tool for safety, has become a source of greater violence against the hull. Now, imagine a different response. In the midst of the same storm, you don't reach for the anchor. Instead, you secure everything loose. You check your own life vest. And then, you take down the sails, you turn the boat to face the waves, and you simply ride. You allow the boat to rise with the swell and fall into the trough. You are present, skillful, but you are not fighting the ocean. You are in a dynamic relationship with it. You are flowing with a power you cannot control. This is not giving up. This is the highest form of seamanship. In our lives, our anxieties, our need to figure everything out right now, our desperate clinging to a fixed plan. These are the anchors we throw in the middle of an emotional storm. We want to stop the feeling, nail down the uncertainty, secure ourselves to a solid answer. If I just know what will happen, I'll be okay. But life is a living ocean. It moves. The anchor of rigid certainty, when thrown into churning reality, creates more strain. It's the resistance that breaks us. This shouldn't be happening. I must know the outcome. The fight against the wave is more exhausting than the wave itself. Buddhist practice is the training to become that skilled sailor in your own heart. It is learning that peace is not found in a motionless boat in a still ocean, that is death. Peace is found in your capacity to be present within the motion. The storm of anxiety, of change, of loss, will come. That is the nature of the sea. Mindfulness is your life vest and your seamanship. It is the ability to feel the rise of the wave of fear without becoming the wave. To notice the thought, "This is terrible," without having to throw the anchor of panic overboard. You let the thought crest, and then it falls away. You breathe in the trough. You are the awareness in the boat, not the boat being shattered by the storm. There was a period where I felt I was drowning. A series of losses came like rogue waves. My instinct was to anchor, to desperately try to reclaim the past, to secure a future that looked like what was gone. I was straining, breaking. A wise friend, an old monk, listened to my frantic plans to fix it all. He poured tea and said, "You are trying to build a wall in the middle of the river. The water will either go around or knock it down. Be the riverbed, not the wall. Let the water flow. Your job is just to feel the stones beneath you." I stopped building the wall. I let the grief, the fear, the uncertainty flow through. I felt the solid stones of my breath, my body, the love that remained. The storm didn't vanish, but I stopped being annihilated by it. I was riding it out. The anchor of my resistance had been the heaviest part of the load. When I pulled it up, the boat, though still in the waves, stopped threatening to splinter. Where in your life have you thrown down an anchor of rigid demand? It must be this way. I can't handle not knowing. What if, just for today, you pulled that anchor up? Not to drift aimlessly, but to practice riding the waves with presence, facing them with an open, resilient heart. The ocean is not your enemy. It is your medium. And you, dear heart, are learning to sail. Within each of us are two gardens, side by side. The first is the garden of manipulation. Here, you are the frantic, sweat-soaked gardener. You plant a seed, and then you hover. You dig it up every hour to check on the roots. You yell at the sun for not shining on schedule. You curse the rain for being too much or too little. You try to paint the petals of the flowers brighter colors. You build tiny cages around the buds to protect them from wind, which also steals their chance to grow strong. This garden is exhausting to tend. The flowers that do bloom are pale, strained, and short-lived. They are products of force, not of nature. Your entire sense of worth is tied to their survival, so you live in constant fear of a wilting leaf. This garden is cultivated by the belief, if I don't control everything, it will all die. The second is the garden of trust. Here, you are also the gardener, but of a different kind. You are a partner to nature. You prepare the soil with care, this is your intention, your effort. You choose good seeds, your values, your wholesome actions. You plant them gently. You water them consistently, this is your daily practice, your mindfulness. And then, you step back. You do not abandon the garden. You pull the obvious weeds of harmful thoughts and actions. But you do not dig up the seeds. You trust the intelligence within them. You allow the sun and rain to do their work on a schedule you do not command. You understand that seasons exist, periods of growth that are visible, and periods of rooting that are unseen. This garden is peaceful to tend. The flowers that bloom are vibrant, resilient, and surprising. They grow in ways you could not have planned, creating beauty you could not have designed. Your joy is in the tending and the witnessing, not in the dictatorship of outcomes. Buddhist teachings on karma and right effort are the manual for the garden of trust. Karma is not a cosmic scorecard, it is the natural law of the garden. Good soil, good seeds, good care tend to produce good fruit. But you are not the sun, the rain, or the mysterious life force within the seed. Control is the back-breaking labor in the first garden. Faith is the attentive, patient stewardship in the second. Faith says, I will do my part impeccably, and I will trust life to do the rest. I learned this not from a grand success, but from a profound failure. I once poured my soul into a project, a garden of manipulation masterpiece. I controlled every detail, micromanaged every person, left nothing to chance. It was technically perfect. And it felt utterly dead. It brought no joy to me or anyone else. It collapsed under the weight of its own control. Around the same time, almost as an afterthought, I helped a friend plant a community herb garden. We did the work, then got busy with life. We forgot about it for weeks. When I returned, it was a lush, fragrant, buzzing ecosystem. Children were picking mint, bees were feasting on lavender. It was alive in a way my controlled project never was. The message was clear. Life thrives not under a microscope, but under the open sky of trust. My effort was necessary, but it was only part of the equation. The magic was in the letting go. Which garden are you watering with your energy today? Are you exhausted from digging up your dreams to check on them, from trying to control the weather of other people's actions? What if you transferred that energy to preparing beautiful soil, planting wholesome seeds, and then sitting on a bench in the sun, watching with wonder as life unfolds its own wisdom? The garden knows how to grow. Your job is to provide the conditions, not to be the force of growth itself. Imagine you are standing in the heart of a deep, vast canyon. The walls rise high around you, ancient and silent. You feel a sudden, sharp pain, a fear, an anger, a sorrow. And you shout it out. I am afraid. The canyon does not judge your shout. It simply receives it and, by its very nature, returns it to you. Afraid, 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 the echo comes back, sometimes distorted, sometimes multiplied, always reminding you of what you sent out. You might shout again, trying to argue with the echo. Be quiet. And back it comes, quiet, quiet, quiet. The more you engage, the more the canyon fills with the sound of your own distress. You believe the canyon is tormenting you, but it is only showing you what you have offered. Now, imagine you take a deep, slow breath. You settle into the stillness of the canyon floor. And instead of a shout, you offer a whisper. Or even better, you offer a song. A gentle hum of peace. I am here. And the canyon returns it. Here, here, here. A soft, layered harmony. The canyon hasn't changed. Its nature is still to echo. But your experience of it has transformed completely, because you changed what you sent into the space. This, according to Buddhist psychology, is a mirror of how our mind works. The world often functions as a canyon. It reflects back the energy, the intention, the vibration we project. This is not a magical law of attraction, but a practical truth of perception and interaction. If you move through your day armored in suspicion, you will see threats everywhere. The canyon echoes danger. If you move through your day rooted in gentle openness, you will notice kindness and possibility. The canyon echoes connection. The mind is the first canyon. A thought of lack echoes, creating more thoughts of scarcity. A thought of gratitude echoes, highlighting things to be thankful for. For years, I worked in a high-pressure environment where everyone operated from fear. Fear of missing targets, fear of blame. The office was that canyon, and all day long it echoed with shouts of stress, competition, and anxiety. I added my own shouts to the din, and every echo felt like an attack. I came home shattered. I blamed the canyon. Then, I began my meditation practice. It was, essentially, learning to stand still in my own inner canyon and listen. I started to notice, my first thought in the morning was a shout that set the tone for the day's echoes. So, I experimented. Before getting out of bed, I would whisper an intention, today, may I meet difficulty with curiosity. Or simply, ease. I didn't fake happiness. I just changed the seed sound. The external canyon of the office didn't transform overnight. But my experience of it did. Because I was listening for different echoes. I noticed the stressed colleague who also made great coffee. I heard the underlying worry in a manager's sharp tone. My own interactions became less shout, more whisper. And some people began to whisper back. The atmosphere around my small desk subtly changed. I had changed the frequency I was broadcasting, and the world, in its way, modulated its echo. You are always standing in a canyon. Your inner world and your outer world are in constant, resonant conversation. What are you shouting today? What whispers are you brave enough to offer instead? You cannot control the canyon structure, but you have absolute sovereignty over the sound you release from your own heart. Choose it wisely. The echo you receive will teach you what you have chosen. We often think of letting go as one grand, dramatic gesture, quitting the job, ending the relationship, selling everything and moving to the mountains. And sometimes it is. But more often, Buddhism points us to the micro-practice of release. The moment-by-moment liturgy of small unclenchings. This is where true freedom is woven, thread by invisible thread. Let me tell you a story about my teacher at the monastery. He was assigned the simple task of tending the rice paddies. My job was to bring him water. I'd find him standing motionless for long periods, just looking. One afternoon, frustrated by my own buzzing thoughts, I asked what he was doing. "I am unclenching," he said. I must have looked puzzled. He smiled. "See that heron?" My mind wanted to name it, categorize it, remember it for later. I unclenched the mind, and now it is just a white movement against green. A gift. Not a memory to be stored. He pointed to a cloud. My mind wanted to predict if it would bring rain, to worry about the path getting muddy. I unclenched the worry. Now it is just shape and light. He knelt, touched the muddy bank. My body wanted to recoil from the dirt. I unclenched the aversion. Now it is just cool and soft. He was, in every silent moment, practicing a tiny, deliberate release of control, of judgment, of mental grasping. He wasn't letting go of the responsibility of the paddy. He was letting go of the 1,000 extra burdens his mind was trying to carry about it. This is the essence of mindfulness, not adding anything, but subtracting the unnecessary contractions we layer onto bare experience. The unclenching of the jaw when you read a stressful email. The unclenching of the heart when you remember a past hurt and choose not to re-inhabit the pain. The unclenching of the will when your child does something their way, not yours. The unclenching of opinion when someone shares a view you disagree with. Each unclenching is a vote for peace. Each one creates a millimeter of space inside you. And space is where life flows, where creativity stirs, where peace resides. I began to practice this liturgy. Waiting in a long line. Unclench the impatience, feel the feet on the floor. Hearing criticism, unclench the defensiveness, listen for the kernel of truth. Waking at night with worry, unclench the grip on the problem, feel the weight of the blankets, the rhythm of the night. These were not grand enlightenments. They were small, almost secret acts of rebellion against the tyranny of tightness. And over time, something accumulated. The space inside me grew. I felt less like a solid, brittle statue and more like a room with open windows. The wind could pass through. Life could move. Your practice today is not to change your life in one go. It is to notice one tiny place where you are clenched, perhaps your shoulders as you listen to this, perhaps your opinion about how today should be going, and, with a gentle in-breath, unclench it. Let go of the mental comment, the physical tension, the emotional grip. Just for this breath. This is the liturgy. This is how you grow your inner capacity for peace, one small, brave release at a time. The grand letting go is built from these. Let's pause here, in the middle of our journey. I want to share a story about a teacup. Not a precious, ancient one, but a simple, clay cup I used every day at the monastery. I loved this cup. Its fit in my hand was perfect, its glaze a soothing deep blue. One morning, washing it, my hand slipped. It clattered into the stone sink and a large, ugly chip flew off the rim. My heart sank. A wave of irritation at my own carelessness washed over me. Ruined, I thought. I showed it to the old kitchen master, expecting sympathy or a sigh. He took the cup, turned it in his hands, running his thumb over the jagged chip. He nodded. Now, he said, it has a story. Before, it was just a cup. Now, it is your cup. The one that survived the fall. He handed it back. Be careful of the sharp edge. But you can still drink from it. I used that chipped cup for years after. Every time I drank from it, my thumb would find that rough spot. It was no longer a reminder of a mistake, but a reminder of impermanence, of resilience, of the beauty in broken things that remain useful. It taught me more about non-attachment than any scripture. I wasn't attached to its perfection, but I cared for it in its imperfection. Eventually, the handle cracked clean off. I glued it back. The glue line was visible, a golden river on the blue. It became even more precious. Buddhism is often seen as teaching detachment from worldly things. But it's more nuanced than that. It's about non-clinging. It's about loving the cup, using the cup, but not suffering when the cup changes, because change is the cup's true nature, and ours. We are all chipped, glued, weathered. Our scars and repairs are part of our story, not flaws that make us unfit for service. The world will chip you. Loss will crack you. The practice is not to become a cup locked in a cabinet, safe but unused. The practice is to be the cup that is used daily, loved in its utility, and held with gentle awareness, knowing it may break, and that even in its brokenness, it can still hold tea. It can still serve a purpose. It can still be held in a grateful hand. In a village split by a wide, rushing river, there lived two bridge builders. The first, Arun, was a man of immense force and certainty. He surveyed the river once and declared, "The bridge shall be of stone, exactly here, with 10 arches." He hired an army of workers, drove them hard, and fought the river every day. When the current washed away his supports, he saw it as a personal insult and built stronger, heavier ones. He cursed the rain that swelled the river and the fish that distracted his men. The bridge rose, but it was a grim, oppressive thing. It strained against the river's flow, and the villagers sensed its tension, crossing it quickly, without joy. The second builder, Lena, approached differently. For weeks, she did not build. She sat by the river. She watched its moods, where it ran swift, where it pooled gently, where the deer came to drink, where the willows bent low. She listened to the villagers talk about their lives, where they needed to go, not just where she thought they should go. She noticed a natural ford upstream, used for generations, where the riverbed was firm. She saw how the light hit the water at a certain bend. Then, she built. Her bridge was not stone, but woven flexible wood and strong hemp. It used the natural rock formations as anchors. It followed the river's grace, curving with the bank, providing rest spots where the view was beautiful. It seemed to grow from the landscape, not conquer it. Building it was a collaboration with the river, not a war. The villagers loved crossing it. Children played on it. It became part of their lives. Arun's bridge stood for 20 years, a monument to will, before a great flood undercut its rigid foundations and it collapsed. Lena's bridge swayed in that same flood, yielded, held, and was repaired with ease because it was designed to move with the river, not resist it. We are all bridge builders, constructing the span between where we are and where we think we need to be. Are you building like Arun, with force and rigid plans, fighting the nature of your own life river? Or are you building like Lena, with observation, patience, and a willingness to collaborate with the currents you cannot control? The destination is the same, the other side. But the journey across, and the bridge you leave behind for others, depends entirely on your relationship with the flow. In a city of scholars, there was a legendary library rumored to contain the answer to every question that had ever plagued humanity: the meaning of life, the cure for grief, the secret to lasting happiness. A young, brilliant, and deeply anxious scholar named Alara devoted her life to finding it. She mapped labyrinths, decoded ancient texts, and finally, exhausted, found the hidden door. The library was a single, circular room. In the center was a pedestal. On the pedestal was not a book, but a small, clear orb. Puzzled, Alara picked it up. Inside the orb, she saw not words, but a miniature, perfect reflection of the room itself, including herself, holding the orb. Baffled, she looked for shelves, for scrolls. There were none. Just blank, curved walls. In frustration, she whispered her deepest question aloud: "Why do I feel so alone?" The moment she spoke, words began to appear on the wall in front of her, written in light. But they were not an answer. They were her own question, echoed back: "Why do I feel so alone?" She asked another: "How can I be happy?" The wall showed: "How can I be happy?" She grew angry, shouting questions about love, death, purpose. The walls only ever reflected her questions back to her, in her own handwriting. Defeated, she sank to the floor, the orb in her lap. She stared into it, at the tiny, tired reflection of her own face. And in that moment of utter surrender, the reflection smiled, a gentle, compassionate smile she had not felt on her own lips in years. A warmth spread from the orb up her arms. She looked up. The walls were now covered not with her frantic questions, but with quiet, simple statements that felt like remembering, not learning. You are here. Breathe. This is enough. The answer was not a piece of information. The library was a mirror. The answer was the quality of attention she brought to the question. Peace was not found in solving the riddle, but in ceasing to fight with her own reflection. We all have a library of lost answers within us. We search frantically in books, in advice, in achievements, for the answer that will settle us. Buddhism suggests the radical notion that the seeking itself is the source of unrest. When you pause the search, when you sit quietly with the question without demanding an answer, you may find that what you sought was already present, not as a solution, but as a state of being. The mirror clears. And in your own reflection, you see not a problem to be solved, but a presence to be embraced. There was a potter renowned for her perfect vases. They were symmetrical, flawless, identical. She achieved this by using a rigid mold on her wheel. The clay was forced into the mold, every time. Her shop was full of perfect, lifeless vessels. One day, a child wandered in, watched her for a while, and asked, "Why do they all look the same?" The potter, irritated, said, "Because this is the right shape. The only shape." That night, a storm knocked out the power. The next day, with no electric wheel, she tried to use an old, kick wheel by the window. There was no mold. Just the spinning disc in her hands. Frustrated at first, she had to work with the clay's natural tendencies, a slight thickness here, a soft spot there. She had to listen with her palms, to follow the clay as much as guide it. The first few pots were wobbly, asymmetrical. But they had character. They felt alive. She made one that curved like a gourd, another that flared like a lily. Sunlight streamed in, drying them unevenly, creating patterns of shadow and light in the glaze. They were not perfect. They were beautiful. She never went back to the mold. Her new work flew off the shelves. People said they could feel the life in them. Our minds are often that electric wheel with a mold. The mold is our fixed idea of how life, how we, how others should be. We force experience into it, and we produce a life that may be tidy, but feels lifeless, constrained. Mindfulness is the kick wheel. It requires more presence, more engagement. You have to feel the spin, work with the texture of the moment, accept the wobbles. The resulting life pot may not be perfect by your old standards, but it will be authentic, unique, responsive. It will have the beauty of something that was allowed to become what it was meant to be, not what it was forced to be. Let go of the mold. Feel the clay of this present moment with your own hands. Center it not on perfection, but on presence, and see what shape emerges. In a beautiful forest, there was one tree that despised autumn. While the others celebrated with bursts of orange and red, this tree clung desperately to its green leaves. I will not let go, it thought. Green is life. Bare is death. When the wind came, it clenched its branches, holding its leaves with all its might. The other trees whispered, "Let go. Rest is part of the cycle." But the tree refused. All winter, it stood, a bizarre spectacle, a skeleton clad in dead, brown, rattling leaves. It was exhausted from the holding. The dead leaves blocked the weak winter sun from its buds. It could not feel the snow or the clean, cold air on its limbs. Spring came late for that tree. While the others, rested and open, burst forth with vibrant new growth, it was still struggling to shed its old, dead burden. Its new leaves were small, pale, and tired. It had missed the deep, silent renewal of winter because it was too busy clinging to a past season. We are often that tree. We cling to a season of our life that has passed, a relationship, a job, an identity, a feeling of security. We believe holding on is strength. But clinging to what is naturally passing exhausts us and blocks the new growth waiting beneath the surface. Buddhism teaches the wisdom of anicca, impermanence. Letting go is not a failure, it is an alignment with the natural rhythm of life. The bare tree in winter is not dead. It is deeply alive, gathering energy in its roots, preparing in stillness. Your periods of loss, of uncertainty, of quiet, these are your winters. They are not voids to be feared, but fertile spaces for root work. Trust the cycle. Let the old leaves fall. They made you who you are, but they are not who you are becoming. Your spring requires the courage of the bare branch. On a treacherous, fog-shrouded coast, there was a lighthouse. Its keeper, an old man named Silas, took immense pride in his light. He polished the lens until it shone, he tuned the mechanism to a precise rhythm. He believed the safety of the ships depended entirely on the perfection of his light. During storms, he would be a ball of anxiety, terrified his light would fail, that a ship would crash, that the blame would be his. He saw every ship that passed safely as a narrow escape from his potential failure. One year, a fierce storm blew for days. The power failed. The great light went dark. Silas, in despair, believed he had failed. He sat in the dark tower, consumed by guilt for ships he was sure were doomed. As dawn broke, exhausted, he walked to the cliff edge. To his astonishment, he saw the fishing fleet returning safely to the harbor. He ran down to the docks. "How?" he asked the weathered captain. "Your light was out." The captain clapped him on the shoulder. "Silas, your light is a great help, yes. But we don't sail by your light alone. We know these waters. We have depth sounders, charts, radios. And most of all, we have each other. When your light went out, old Mara on the headland lit a bonfire. The sea sprite used its spotlight to guide others. We work together. The sea is not conquered by one light, but by many points of awareness." Silas's world shifted. He had carried the entire safety of the sea on his shoulders. He realized his light was one point of guidance in a vast, interconnected web of care and skill. His job was not to be the sole savior, but to tend his light faithfully as his part in the collective dance. The weight lifted. He still polished the lens with love, but now it was an act of partnership, not a burden of control. How often do you play the lighthouse keeper, believing the entire outcome of your family, your project, your loved one's happiness, rests solely on your shoulders and your perfect performance. Buddhism teaches interdependence. You are one vital point of light in a vast network. Do your part with excellence and love, but release the fantasy of total control and the crushing weight of sole responsibility. Trust that there are other lights, other forms of wisdom, other hands at work. You are not alone at the helm of the universe. Tend your light, and trust the greater network of life. A renowned cartographer was hired to map a wild, beautiful island. He spent years there, meticulously recording every cove, every hill, every stream. His map was a masterpiece of detail and accuracy. He returned home and framed it, proud. Years later, a young traveler, holding a copy of that very map, came to visit him. "Sir," the traveler said, "your map saved me many times. But it's wrong." The cartographer was offended. "Impossible. I measured every inch." The traveler laid the map on the table. "It's not wrong in its lines," he said gently. "It's wrong because the island changed. The great storm of '85 rerouted this river. The landslide removed this hill. The villagers built a new bridge here. The map shows the island as it was, not as it is. I had to put the map away and look with my own eyes to navigate." The cartographer was stunned. He had fallen in love with his representation of reality, and had confused it for reality itself. Our beliefs, our plans, our stories about ourselves and our lives, these are our maps. They are useful, even essential. But they are not the territory of present moment experience. We often suffer because we are trying to navigate the wild, living, changing island of now with an old map, a map of who we were, how things should be, what we fear. We get lost because we trust the map more than the ground beneath our feet. Buddhist mindfulness is the practice of putting the map down. It is looking with fresh eyes at the actual territory of this breath, this feeling, this sound. The river of your grief may have changed course. The hill of your ambition may have eroded. The bridge of a new connection may have appeared where your map shows only a blank. Life is not static. To flow with it, you must be willing to update your map, or better yet, to walk sometimes without it, simply feeling the earth, smelling the air, trusting your own direct perception in the ever-unfolding now. In the monk's temple where I spent many years, there was a bell used to mark the hours for meditation. It had a rich, deep tone that vibrated through the stones. We all loved the moment of the bell. One day, the bell was taken down for repairs. The monk responsible for striking the hour was distraught. How will we know when to sit? How will we maintain the rhythm? The master said, "Strike the silence." Puzzled, the monk went to the meditation hall at the usual time. He stood before the empty space where the bell hung. He mimed the action of striking it, and then, listened. At first, he heard only the absence of sound. Then, his listening deepened. He heard the wind in the pines outside. He heard the distant chatter of a squirrel. He heard his own heartbeat. He heard the space between sounds, which was vast and full. He sat down to meditate in that rich, silent tapestry. When the bell returned, he still struck it, but he no longer needed it. He had learned to hear the rhythm within the silence. We become attached to external signals, the approval that tells us we're good, the achievement that tells us we're successful, the plan that tells us we're safe. When those signals are absent, we feel lost, adrift. Buddhism invites us to strike the silence. To find the internal rhythm that does not depend on external validation or circumstance. Your worth is not a bell that must be rung by the world. It is the silent, steady space within you that hears the wind and knows its place in the song. When you learn to listen there, you carry your own timing, your own peace. You are no longer a slave to the next chime. This is a story from within the earlier parable. The unseen weaver, in his infinite tapestry, was crafting a section depicting a human life. It was a challenging section, full of dark threads of loss and bright threads of joy, tightly interwoven. A junior weaver, a spirit of orderly beauty, was observing. He saw a particularly dark, tangled knot forming, a period of great suffering in the life. Appalled, he reached in, without asking, and tried to smooth it out. He pulled a thread, trying to straighten it. But in doing so, he unraveled a connected bright thread, a profound lesson in compassion that was meant to be born from that very knot. The pattern began to distort. The unseen weaver gently stilled the junior weaver's hand. "I know the knot is ugly from here," the weaver said. "But follow this dark thread." He traced it with his finger. The junior weaver's gaze followed. He saw how that dark thread, a few feet later in the tapestry, became the core of a stunningly beautiful flower. A flower of empathy that would touch hundreds of other threads, bringing softness to entire sections of the cloth. The knot was necessary to give the thread the right tension, the right placement, for its future role. "You see," the unseen weaver whispered, "you cannot judge a thread from the knot. You must trust the whole pattern. In our lives, we are the junior weaver. We see a knot, a failure, a rejection, a illness, a pain, and we cry, mistake. Flaw. This must be removed." We tug at it, desperate to smooth our lives into an unbroken, easy surface. But what if that knot is not a flaw in the weaving, but a crucial part of the tension and texture that will allow a future beauty, strength, wisdom, depth, to emerge? We interfere, trying to avoid all knots, and in doing so, we may unravel the very threads that were meant to lead to our greatest gifts. The practice is to feel the knot, to be with its roughness, without the immediate conviction that it is wrong. To say, "I do not understand this thread yet, but I will not pull at it. I will trust it is part of a pattern my eyes cannot see." This is faith. This is how we stop fighting our own story and start respecting its mysterious, often painful, always intelligent design. And so, we come to the riverbank. Our time together here at the monk's temple is drawing to a close, but this is not an ending. It is a returning. You came here carrying certain weights. The weight of the museum of tomorrow, the ache of the white-knuckled grip on the kite string, the exhaustion of building walls in the river. We have walked through gardens and canyons, watched potters and bridges, sat with cups and bells and maps. The single, whispering thread through all of it is this: life is not a problem to be solved by force of will. It is a reality to be met with gentle, present awareness. The peace you seek is not the absence of waves, but the ability to find your balance within them. It is not the perfection of the cup, but the gratitude for the tea it holds, however chipped its rim. Buddhism does not offer a magic spell to calm the storm. It offers you the profound realization that you are not only the boat in the storm, you are also the awareness that can witness the storm, that can feel the rain without drowning in it. You have been taught, perhaps for a lifetime, that safety is in control. That to let go is to fall. But what if the opposite is true? What if control is the fall, a fall into anxiety, exhaustion, and a small, hardened life? And what if letting go is the landing, a soft landing into the arms of a reality that is fundamentally supportive when you are not fighting it? The river flows. You can stand on the bank, trying to build dams to direct it, getting soaked and tired. Or you can step into the current. Not to drown, but to learn how to swim with it, to float, to be carried to places your planning mind could never have imagined. As you move forward from this space, you don't need to remember 7 lessons. You only need to remember one thing: when you feel tight, soften. That is the entire practice. When worry tightens your mind, soften into the breath. When fear tightens your heart, soften into the feeling itself, without resistance. When control tightens your hands, soften your grip and open your palms. Your strength was never in the clenching. Your strength is in the capacity to release, to trust, to open. It takes immense bravery to unclench in a world that praises the grip. You are that brave. You have been brave just by listening, by being here. So, let today be the day of one small unclenching. One worry you place on the river. One outcome you release to the weaver. One silent moment where you listen not for the bell, but for the peace within the silence. You are not alone on this path. This temple, this community, is here as a reminder. If these reflections have been a gentle companion to you, consider subscribing to Monk's Temple. Your subscription is like a stone in a peaceful garden. It helps this space of quiet wisdom exist and grow, offering shelter to others on their journey. Share this with someone whose hands you see are tired from holding on too tight. It might be the permission they need to breathe. In the comments sanctuary below, I would love to hear from you. What is one thing, just one small thing, you feel ready to stop interfering with? What knot will you stop pulling at today? Your words create a community of shared courage. Until we meet again, here at the riverbank, remember, breathe deeply. The air is free. Trust completely. The weaver is skilled. Move gently. The river knows the way to the sea. You are home.